a lot of people are not really aware of exactly what an A&R person does, and we'll get to that. But before we get to that, can you just explain what the difference between a scout and an A&R person is?
Sure. So the scout is the person who's there. In my case, I was getting sent to places a lot by the A&R managers. I suppose the key difference between an A&R person or an A&R manager and a scout is that the scout doesn't look after any acts. The scout isn't in charge of any budgets or making records. So the scouting process, which arguably is the fun process, the fun part of the job, and that's perhaps what the person in the street thinks A&R is. It's all about being like someone on a talent show panel, kind of spotting people and going, yes, I'm going to sign you and you're going to be a big star. But actually, it's obviously, as you know, the hard work starts when you've got them to sign to you. I mean, sometimes it's really hard work getting them to sign to you when they've got lots of competition, and then it becomes like a sort of turbocharged courting process where one's trying to sort of date the same girl and competing with what they've got to offer and their expense accounts, which is an ugly sort of process, which I never really enjoyed. But some A&R people love all that. They love being able to sort of get one over the rival labels. So the scout is generally a junior person who is out 5-6 nights a week, seeing as many gigs as possible, building up a network of contacts and bringing the things that they are hearing. Generally, they're expected to have their ear to the ground into the weekly A&R meeting and telling everyone what's going on. And the more senior A&R people are the ones who will ultimately at that point make a decision as to whether any of these things get signed. So it's just a matter of time. I mean, these days what often happens is that people who've been doing it themselves, bedroom labels or putting artists together or promoting in local venues, that always happened, and people got A&R gigs like that, sort of jumped into A&R positions without having been the scout. In my experience, to return to Dublin briefly, I found a group called Unemotional Fish who fit template for being like you, as much like you two as you possibly could be. And it became one of those bidding wars. Arma Ertegun from Atlantic flew over, and there was a whole bunch of people all offering them hundreds of thousands of pounds, and we East-West signed them, and they went nowhere. But fortunately, as the scout, I wasn't responsible. It was my boss who did all the A&Ring on that one. I just carried on going out to gigs.
So you said you got sent places, so the other people had their ears to the ground, but you obviously, presumably, if you don't have your ear to the ground as a scout, you get booted out pretty quick. So how did you come across people, or was it just literally going out constantly, brute force?
Well, I think that there's a distinction to be made between what I was doing back in the late 80s, early 90s, which was in a day, a lot of the time spent on the phone. So that's how the gossip and rumor mill worked, because you could talk to publishers because they were not in competition with you because you were not offering publishing deals. But you couldn't really talk to other record companies because they were ostensibly in competition with you. But of course, all of the publishers that you talk to other record labels. So very quickly, if there was a buzz band, unless you really swore someone to secrecy, everyone would know about it. Right. Because that was the currency of the scout. It was information and tips, and lots of people used to use the word vibe, which I wasn't so keen on, but that was a commonly used word.